how are you doing? What have you been up to this week? Hi Wiz, good to see you. Anybody else there? Yeah, anybody else here? Just let me know. Good to know what you're up to today or what you've been doing this week. I've got a little bit to tell you today on what I've been up to. I've been doing a little bit of playing around as usual, as well as kind of doing some tutorials and teaching, and I kind of juggle everything up. But what I wanted to talk about, hi Kate, Kate. I know you're in the mid US. Whereabouts are you from though, Kate? Hi TGERE. I don't know how to say that. Is that something, or is that a spelling machine? Oh, is that meant to be hi there? Hi there, Kate. Good to hear from you. I know you're in the US. And Wiz. So yes, what I want to talk about today is etching on your silver clay. So I know texturing silver clay is one of the best things you can do. It hides a multitude of sins on your silver, and we've got lots and lots of different texturing methods that we can use these days. I mean, most commonly when we're texturing our silver, we use texture plates and things like that. There's hundreds and hundreds of these different texture plates on the market. And they are fabulous, and we get texture envy when we see someone with a texture that we like and we'd like to use. So yeah, there's hundreds and thousands of these texture plates, but there's lots of other ways to texture as well. I love using bits of lace or fabrics. With my background being in textiles, fashion design and textiles, then I do like to use a little bit of that as well. But you can make your own photopolymer plates. You know, you can either design your own or draw your own, or take inspiration from what's on the internet to create your own photopolymer plates. These are some laser cut cards. I love these. The definition that you get out of these is very shallow, but it's quite crisp, so I really like the laser cut cards. Again, some of my favourite things is, because I'm a cheapskate and I like to find the most inexpensive way of doing things, is wallpaper textures. So I get to the big hobbycraft stores or B&Q or the DIY centres and go and get wallpaper textures, and I love to use these because I think they're really nice and cheap and cheerful. Hi Laura, Lynn, Linda, Kate's in Oklahoma. Wow. Wiz, writing reports for metal clay about them bicolour stones still have issues. Oh, Wiz, you're still getting on with the bicolour stones. Yeah, they've been proved a little bit challenging, haven't you? But I'm glad you're doing all the research. It's really helping. So we'll be following your progress on that, Wiz. Thank you so much for all your work. Hi Helen, hi Melanie, hi Jackie, Nadia, hello. Kirsty, oh, nice to hear from you, Kirsty. And Joy, hi. So that's great. Nice to see some of you joining me. Another texture is cut out. I guess this has been laser cut, and I purchased this years ago, and it was actually made for cake decorating, that you could put it on top of cakes and then use some colour. Joy, you'll know about cake decorating and stencils and things, so that's what that was all about. So I've got one of those as well, but there's loads and loads of ways of adding textures to your pieces. But this technique of etching is not, I don't think it's that popular, or it's that well known. So I just wanted to kind of bring it up as a subject to tell you all about it, really. And it was kind of invented, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Invented by a guy called Tim J. To the best of my knowledge and the research, by a guy called Tim J, who was doing a bit of kind of research into working with this technique because it mimics the traditional silversmithing or metalsmithing technique of acid etching. Now, I have done a bit of acid etching. I did a bit of acid etching many years ago when I first started learning traditional silversmithing, and I did it in a class, in a group, and I was one of the students, and I was terrified because it uses nitric acid, which is really unpleasant chemical. So if you're going to be using nitric acid, you need to be really diligent about your safe practices, and how you go about this. So the wonders of metal clay mean you can do this similar etching technique with using water, because metal clay is water soluble. So we can replicate this acid etching technique that's used in metalsmithing by using water. Now, the whole technique, you take your sheet of metal and then you would find a way of adding a resist to that metal to kind of block out a pattern, an image, a design, whatever it is. And then you expose the metal into this entire chemical solution. And as you put it into this chemical solution, it starts to eat away at the exposed areas of metal. Now, that can happen quite quickly. When I was doing this as in a class, as I say, many years ago, we watched the metal literally starting to bubble and fizz as it was literally beginning to dissolve away. Now, you do need to be attentive to that, because if you left it too long, it can literally eat the metal away. End of. It's gone. So we literally sat and watched this process happen over a short period of time, while the acid etching actually did its bit. Now then, the resists themselves can vary. So in traditional metalsmithing terms, I've seen and heard about using waxes, liquid waxes, in glues, and what else can we think of? There was some other various barriers that people have used. What I used when I did the traditional acid etching, we used nail polish to block out a pattern and a design. And I've gone forwards and used the nail polish again on the silver. Now, I did learn this again many years ago in traditional in traditional silversmithing, but I did learn it as well in metal clay many years ago. But it's not very well used or well known, so that's why I wanted to kind of bring it up. So how are we going to do this? So if you're going to do this on your metal clay, you need to be rolling your clay out to, I'd say, about 1.25 mil thick, or 5 cards thick, something like that, or even thicker, because you're going to erode some of that silver away. So once you've rolled out your clay, cut out the shape you're going to work on, leave the entire thing to dry, and to bone dry, absolutely plaster dry or bone dry, whichever way you look at saying this. And once it's dried to this bone dry consistency, then you can start to draw on. And I draw on first because I'm rubbish going freehand with things. Hi, Ali. I draw on. So I'll draw on with a pencil the little image or design that I want to create. And then from there, then you can paint the areas with your nail polish. Now, if you're going to paint it on, I suggest you don't use the brush that's in the nail polish. Use a really nice fine paintbrush, as fine as you can get, so you can get the definition and the detail and the patterns. You can do really fine lines as well, or big blocked out areas, so you can get a variety of things. So painting on your nail polish, and then you will find the nail polish sucks in and dries really quickly, but just leave it for a few minutes, a good few minutes, and then you can go back and do a second coating as well, just to make sure that you've got a really good solid resist on top of your silver clay. Now then, you need to let that really dry. I mean, really, really dry. So I leave that for a good hour or so to make sure it's bone dry. Then once you've got your piece and it's bone dry, the nail polish is bone dry as well, then you're ready to start making the erosion happen. So you can use a little sponge. I've got just a little kitchen sponge that would do the job, but if natural sea sponges are great for this job. But you can use a natural bit of a kitchen sponge or makeup sponge, whatever you want to do. And then basically you're going to put that into a little bit of water, saturate it up with a bit of water, and then squeeze the majority of the water out. Then once you've done that, you're going to start to just swipe gently over the piece. Now I've got a little ring here that I've been working on. I'm going to do this as a little tutorial. So if you can see the ring here, I made a ring drawn on the pattern and I've applied the nail polish, and then with a sponge dipped it in water and start to erode this away. Now if you're doing, I wanted to grab this behind me, if you're doing something like a ring, then do have it sat on a mandrel while you're doing it, because you're getting it wet again, the whole thing's going to get a little bit soft. So by keeping it supported on the mandrel while you're doing this erosion, then it'll stop it from collapsing, because that can easily happen. And I would say this is not something that you want to do with absolute beginners to metal clay, because I would teach them all the solid foundation skills first of all. Whether you're teaching or whether you're new to this at all, I'd say this is not one to do as a beginner. This is something to add to your toolbox a little bit later down the line, once you've got all your solid metal clay foundation skills and you understand how metal clay behaves in the wet clay stage, in the plaster dry stage, etc, etc. You'll know its boundaries of how you can push it and what its limitations are as well. So this is one for something down the line, not for a beginner. So as I say, water on your sponge and start to erode, and keep dipping your sponge in water and squeezing out the excess, and you will get the residue of the clay coming off the sponge into the water. That's okay, that's fine. So just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going until you've eroded as much or as little as you want. Now you've got to be careful, as I say, you don't want to make the whole thing too wet and soggy, and I would suggest you do a little bit and then put it back to dry. I use my cup warmer all the time for drying things on, so I would do a bit and let it dry and then come back and do a bit more and then let it dry, etc, etc, because that way I know I'm not going to have the ring collapse on me or the piece collapse on me. So once you've eroded it all away, like so, and you've got the depth, you can actually feel it with your finger. You can feel that you've got some depth in here. Now you don't want to take too much away so that it's like wafer thin between these exposed areas, but yeah, you've got a nice exposed area of clay that is just a little bit sitting now a little bit lower because you've taken some of the clay away. Now what happens next is, once you've got this as perfect as you want to see it, then it's going to get fired. So you will fire this, whether you're torch firing it or gas hob firing it. I would suggest, if you are torch firing or gas hob firing, you make sure you're in a very well ventilated area, even if you're kiln firing, because as it burns off the nail polish, it can be a bit smelly. It can be a bit choky, smelly. So open the windows, make sure you're in a well ventilated area for the burn out of the organic binder, and of course it's going to burn off the nail polish as well. It's a bit stinky. But once it has fired, then you will find you've got this heavy discoloration on the silver where the nail polish has been. It's fine, don't worry about it. You just go ahead and do your polishing as you would normally. So whether that's wire brushing or using tumblers or polishing machines or radial discs, whatever your polishing method is, go ahead, polish it up, and then you will find you've got a really nice raised pattern. So all the areas that you painted out with your nail polish are raised, and all those areas that were exposed and you were eroded away with the water etching, then they're now slightly recessed. So in those little recessed areas, they're going to hold colour and patina if you decide to go down the route of adding liver of sulphur, which we talked a lot about last week. So you're going to get a lot of heavy colouring in there, or you can use these little recesses to put things like enamels or alcohol inks or patina colours, those vintage patinas. They're great to sit in there. Resins, anything like that, you can put into these little recesses to add a bit of colour and interest into the design itself. So that's a little ring. Now I wanted to also show you, you don't have to go freehand. If you thought of drawing something more than a stick man on there on your piece was frightening you to bits, you can use stencils. I've done a couple of little dragonflies on this little piece here, and I created this by using the little dragonflies. This is just a little dragonfly stamp, paper punch, and using just a label, and then I've punched out, hang on, let's do this very quickly, hang on, pair of scissors, hang on, you're getting real-time demo here, pair of scissors. I cut my label out, and then with my paper punch I can punch out the little dragonflies. So I did a couple of those up the little paper label. I can then peel that off and stick it onto my piece of silver clay. Make sure it's well stuck down, and then with the nail polish you can literally paint through that little paper, and that's exactly what I've done there. Now I've painted it twice, but before it is completely solidly dried, I've peeled the paper off, and I've got these little dragonflies. Now I am going to paint around the edges of these as well to create a little bit of a frame and a border, and of course I want to paint the back because anything that's exposed will kind of erode away. So I need to paint the edges, I need to, whoops, don't drop it, I need to paint the edges, I need to paint the back, so that when I come to do the etching is going to only take away the exposed areas, and all the varnished areas will stay intact, basically, and proud. So there you go, there's my pieces. Now I am going to be firing that ring piece, and probably when I get on to firing these, they're not finished yet because I haven't done all the nail polish around the edges, but I will post pictures on my Workbench Wednesday page once I've fired it and polished it, so you can see the end results. So that'll be in the next day or so. I might do that tomorrow. Anyway, in the next day or so, it'll be on my Workbench page if you want to have a go. Kirsty, ooh, I'm all excited. The possibilities. Yes, I mean, traditionally we've used this technique you know, in traditional metalsmithing, and it's not been very well known about using it for metal clay, because I suppose it can be seen as wasteful of the silver. But you know, that little pot, you just need a little ramekin of water to put in there, and where you've squeezed the sponge out, and if you leave the water to dehydrate away, you'll find there's a residue of clay sitting in the bottom of your little pot, so you can scrape that up and pop that into your paste pot once it all dehydrates away. So there's no silver that's actually wasted in the end. It is all used, but this does give you a little bit more options, I guess. It will give you more options for a different texturing technique. I don't know how many of you seen it or heard of it before, but I think it's a useful one to learn. Without knowing it's there, you don't know whether you want to use it or not. It can be done on any metal clay at all. It can be done on your base metal clays if you want to do it on your bronze or your coppers and things like that. It's an interesting one to have a go on them as well. Troubleshooting. I just want to tell you about, it's really, really important that you don't get the piece too wet and you don't have a sponge that is really too wet. It is just important to have it damp, not soggy wet, because you can take this too far and get the piece too wet too quickly, and then all of a sudden you've just got soggy mush rather than a nice pendant piece or pair of earrings or ring or whatever it is you want to make. So it is important that it's just damp and not soggy wet. So and dry at regular intervals as well. Do a little bit and let it dry, and do a little bit and let it dry. That's really important for you to think about that. So we talked about these little recesses. It might be something if you're into enamelling, and if you've ever seen any bast high enamelling, there is one artist I know who does amazing bast high enamelling pieces. Now I don't know what method she uses by which she puts her texture into the silver clay pieces, but this could certainly be one of those methods if you wanted to use that to create texture underneath your bast high enamel. So that's a thought to go with. Lots of things to do. So has anybody tried this before? Hi Fleur. I love etching. Never knew you do. You can do it with metal clay. Just as obviously it's water, not acid. So it's an interesting technique to try on metal clay. So if any of you tried etching yourself before on metal clay, then let me know. Let me know what your experience was, how it turned out, and if you've got any pictures, post pictures. Let me know. One thing to say about as well, something else I've just thought about, if you're doing something with really, really fine lines, just be careful about how you are doing this etching, how you're doing the water erosion, because, you can get those fine lines. If you're a little bit heavy-handed with it, again, if you get this too soggy, you can end up getting undercut, and then you'll lose that definition of the line, if you know what I mean. So you're just taking off the surface, so just be careful you're not really, really taking too much away too quickly. Stay in control of what you're doing, and that way you'll have some nice little results. But as I say, I will post pictures of these once I've fired them and done them. So hope you were like that. So let me know if anybody else has got any thoughts on water etching at all. Something else, I'm just changing the subject now. Something else I wanted to show you. I told you about me glove stretchers last week, didn't I? Well, my mum came up with another curiosity this week, and I wondered if anyone can help me with this, because my mum said, is this any use to you? So it looked like a little retractable tape measure. However, it's not. It's not a retractable tape measure. It's like a very fine, and it's about, I don't know, half a metre long. It's about a piece of like nylon thread that's retractable in there. It's got a little end on it like that. There's no clip to make it not retract. It looks like it clips onto your belt at the back. So if anybody's got any idea what that might be, or what I might use it for, I've got no idea. But that's just a silly curiosity that's puzzling me right now. So if anybody's got any idea of what we can use that for, or what I'm going to do with it, let me know. Oh God. I know next week I'm gonna do sort of like a little bit of a garrote. Yeah, I thought the same, Jackie. When my mother gave it to me, I went, what are you doing with that, Mum? Is it, is it garrote? Is it a safety thing? Is it something you're supposed to have in your handbag for your attackers? I don't know, might be. Attach your keyring card or your belt so you don't have to take it off. Yeah, I get that. It's, you clip that onto your belt or something. But I'm not really sure what that is for. We use them for security passes. So you can pull them. Ah, okay, I get it. Okay. So it's broken, but originally it was for keys. So you can clip on your belt, but stay in your pocket. Ah. Oh, well, there you go. Well, thanks for all your great ideas. We use it for security passes. Yeah, I get that. You can clip on, because it's got a little hole in there. A little tiny hole in there. So you clip it on your belt and you can bip it. Yeah, I get that now. But I had no idea what that was for and why my mother ended up with it. Or why she passed it to me. She said, have you got a use for that? Okay, well, thanks for that, guys. I knew you'd be have some pearls of wisdom to share with me on what that is. Thank you very much. So yeah, just want to tell you about what I'm going to talk about next week. There is like I've talked about today, this technique of water etching, which is not that well known in the metal clay world. Looks like a carpenter's tool that you would dip in chalk and flick onto the wall to make marks. Oh, that's an interesting thought, Kate. Never thought of that. So yes, the next week's talk, I want to talk about a technique, again, another technique that it's out there. It's out there. I haven't invented it, but I haven't seen it used or anybody talk about it in a long time. So I am going to do some samples over the course of this next week, and I'm going to bring you my results in the chat next week. So apart from that, I'm just leaving that as a dangled carrot. I'm not going to tell you any more than that. Am I too late? Well, Nikki, you can watch it again if you missed my blurb. Yeah, you can watch it again because it'll be there later. If you want to watch it again and again and again, if you're that mad. Yeah, next week I've got the demos, and also during the week I'm going to do a bit of a giveaway because I really want more people to know about this Workbench Wednesday page that I'm doing, and me doing a bit of sharing info on all sorts of different techniques and tricks and things to do with silver clay. Then I'm going to run a little competition on my own Facebook page because I want you to share and let other people know about it. So watch out. I'll be asking you to, share the Workbench Wednesday page, and I'll put your names into a hat. And then next week I'm going to draw a name out of the hat when I've got all these wonderful names. And hopefully lots of you will have shared. And I'm going to do a goodie bag of giveaways. And I've just pulled out one of the giveaways is going to be a texture mat, and it's one of Pam East's texture mats. This one. It's fabulous. So there's positive and negative of this texture mat. That's just one of the prizes. But I'm going to do a goodie bag, and it'll be about 50 quid's worth of goodies in the goodie bag. So yeah, hopefully someone will win that next week. And this week I'm going to be trying something new, something that I haven't done before, but it looks really interesting and really exciting. So I'll be showing you the results of that. And because on Saturday I'm joining my fellow guest designers from Jewellery Maker, Gemma Crow and Laura Binding, because they've combined forces to do a fabulous workshop called Inks Ink and Doodle, I think it's called. Ink and Doodle. Got me bits of paper here. Ink and Doodle workshop, yeah. So we're going to be playing around with alcohol inks and doodling, and I can't wait to have a go. Bought all my supplies, guys. It's all down there in the corner. So I've got all them to play with on Saturday. And I'll show you what I've been doing next week. And somehow I want to convert this into working with silver clay as well. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. I've got some ideas, but I've got to see what the results of the workshop are. So yeah, I'm going to think about doing these inks and dyes and coming up with these wonderful patterns and then incorporating them into a silver clay piece. That, you know, you'll see those patterns and things like that as well, and the colours. Watch this space, I'll show you about that. It's going to be fab. It is going to be fab, Laura. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, spent a fortune on stuff, but love it. I'm really looking forward to it. So that's going to be good too. So that's me trying something new. And it's my birthday next week, so you can bring your own cake. Bring your own cake, and we'll have some cake while we're doing Workbench Wednesday. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you all then. Tell me about it, Laura. Yeah, you spend fortune on stuff too, and you enjoy it, don't you? So again, I'm going to do another little shameless plug for some of my Zoom workshops that I've got coming up. On Friday, I'm doing a Zoom workshop, all on my hinged cuff, my little hinged cuffs that I do. So we'll be making these, and there's still 1 or 2 places left, although there's certain bits and pieces. So we'll be doing the hinged cuff on Friday, and then 2 weeks after that, on what's the date? It'll be 23rd of April. I'm doing the inner spin pendant. So this takes a lampwork bead, and we're going to pop that into. That's just one example, and this one is the other. So if anybody's interested in those, the details are all on my website for my shameless plug. Then on the 7th of May, I've got my fidget rings. I've got my fidget rings over here. We're going to be making fidget rings. Oh, so we've got this one, this fidget ring, and we've got this fidget ring. This one's got a bit of a pattern on it, and there's this one. So we're going to be making fidget rings on the 7th of May. On the 17th of April, which is not so long away, not so far away I should say, I'm doing a workshop for the creative craft shows in the mandala pendant. So that's this one. Ooh. You can see that mandala pendant. So if you're interested in doing any of those, well, the mandala pendant is on the creative craft creative craft website, and yeah, so if you want to do that one, go and join them. Otherwise, the spinner rings, the inner spin, and the hinge cuff, they're all on my website. All the details of those if you're interested in doing any of those. So I will say thank you for joining me today. What are you looking forward to doing next week when all the shops open? Shops, bars, restaurants, well, sort of, outdoors. I've got a nail appointment for Monday morning, which I can't wait. And then I've also booked my swimming. So I can't wait to go swimming, and I can't wait to get my nails done. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to next week. And I hope you can join me with some cake next week. So, take care, folks. Thank you for joining me today. I know this was a bit of a shorter one. But hope it was useful and you find it useful. I have made these notes. I've written loads of notes on this. So, if anybody's interested, I can post the notes as well. If anybody wants them, just let me know. I can send them over. I've written up these notes. So thank you for joining me today, folks, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.